The unspoken language. So we felt that initial jolt, that first realization that silence is not empty. But what happens when we actually use it? When we stop filling the air with noise and let the quiet do the talking? This is where it gets real. This is the unspoken language. And it might be the most powerful dialect you never knew you were fluent in. Think about the last tense conversation you had. Maybe it was a negotiation, a difficult talk with a partner, or a moment where you felt pressured to give an answer. What did you do? Your instinct was probably to talk, to explain, to defend, to fill that uncomfortable void with sound. But that void is not a weakness. It's a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. When you stop talking, you create a gravitational pull. The other person feels compelled to fill the space, and in their rush to escape the discomfort, they often reveal everything. Their true intentions, their weaknesses, their hand. Silence is not passive. It's an active force. It commands the room without you ever raising your voice. It's a tool that immediately shifts the power dynamic in your favor, because most people are terrified of it. They'll rush to agree, to concede, to offer more, just to break the tension you're comfortably holding. It's in that pause after a question where the truth lives. Not in the rehearsed answer, but in the nervous glance, the shifted weight, the hurried words that follow the quiet. You become a detective of human nature, simply by being still. This is not about manipulation. It's about perception. It's about creating the space for thought to occur for both you and the other person. When you react instantly, you operate from impulse, from ego. But when you inject silence, you create a buffer, a sacred space between stimulus and response. In that space, you find your power. You find your choice. You find the response that actually serves you, not just the reaction that fills the air. You start to listen not just to the words being said, but to everything happening beneath them. The hesitation that says, "I'm unsure." The defensive tone that says, "I'm vulnerable here." The rushed offer that says, "I'm desperate to close this deal." This language changes everything. It transforms you from a participant in the conversation to an observer of it. You see the entire board, not just your next move. And that is a monumental advantage in every interaction you will ever have. Your silence does not make you weak. It makes you a fortress, calm, impenetrable, and deeply respected. People do not challenge a quiet confidence. They lean into it. They want to know what you know. Because the person who is comfortable in the quiet is often presumed to be the most powerful person in the room. They cannot read you, but you are reading every single word they say and every single thing they do not. That is the ultimate power, and it's been waiting for you in the pause. All you have to do is stop talking and let it speak. Cultivating quiet in a noisy world. So we felt that initial jolt, that first realization that silence is not empty. But what happens when we actually use it? When we stop just appreciating it from a distance and start weaving it into the fabric of our days. Start small. Devour the quiet. This is your anchor point. However the rest of the day goes, you began it centered. You began it with you. And then, weaponize the gaps. This is where clarity is born, not in the frantic search for answers, but in the quiet spaces between the questions. Now, let's talk about your most powerful tool, strategic silence in conversation. It tells the other person they were truly heard, not just processed. This practice rewires your anxiety. Your decisions will change because you're no longer deciding from a place of reaction. You're responding from a place of reflection. Create a silence sanctuary. This is non-negotiable maintenance. You are charging your soul's battery. This is how you cultivate quiet. You stop treating silence as the absence of noise and start treating it as the presence of something far more valuable, yourself.